A lot of that was prompted by me lighting Luke Thomas up in the video that I did. If you think that like any flex against me or Guru, it's like you do not understand the game that you're in if that's what you think. Like the only reason we've blown up is because people have wanted to watch our and they found us based on absolutely no credibility that was provided by an institution, just like talent. And that's it.
My next guest has built one of the largest MMA channels on YouTube right now with close to 150,000 subscribers. And you probably know him as being the king of clickbait. It's Jesse Merrill, Jesse on Fire, joining me here on the program. Jesse, how are you, man?
I am excellent. I will take that, dude. The king of clickbait. It is, it's a skill that I take a lot of pride in. It takes, that is definitely the part of this gig that takes the most time and is the most agonizing that I don't like, but it's just what you got to do.
Yeah, no, it is. And you've mastered it. And I give you credit for that because it's very hard to come up with things and get viewers in. And we'll talk all about that in a sec here. But I always start this show off with, how do you describe what it is you do to people who aren't involved in MMA? Because sometimes, people don't really get it.
I tell them that I have a show that is around combat sports, kind of. You know, like if they really want to get into the weeds, it's like it's combat sports, but I talk about a bunch of other stuff that if a story can be in any way connected to combat sports, then I talk about that. If it's like a trending topic, it doesn't, like I don't do fight breakdowns, but I can, I like to talk about much bigger things than just breaking down fights. And so I kind of use combat sports as a staging point to talk about a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. And I know you talk a lot of politics too. We can get a little bit into that later too, because I think it's interesting as well, kind of how they sort of, tie together here and everything like that. Also got to mention, this is only, I think, the second time you and I have ever talked. I was trying to remember the last time. It was when I got hacked. Remember we talked on Instagram?
Yeah.
Because you were worried about some hacking stuff too. Did anything ever happen or were you good?
Dude, someone made a really sophisticated attempt to hack me last night, actually.
Oh, wow.
Like last night. Because I get attempts all the time, but last night's was good, dude. It wasn't like I was close exactly, but it was very impressive. But no, nothing happened with that last one, but it just because it's top of mind. Cause I remember what you said happened to you, where it was a sponsor, everything appeared to be on the up and up. This one was like this very personalized email that, and they were talking about my engagement on Instagram versus YouTube. They like knew my brand. They knew a bunch of stuff. And, and it was like, here, click this. Like, I just do not ever open attachments or click links. Never, no matter what.
I learned that too.
Unless if it says this is from Ford Motor Company and I could see it's from like Ford.com. That's the only way that I'll even think about opening it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm totally with you there. How did you become an MMA fan? Like, when did this start for you as far as your interest in combat sports?
Oh man. I was just like a violent lunatic when I was younger. And I always loved martial arts. I used to train kickboxing and Muay Thai. And then, I now like basically exclusively do jiu-jitsu, but nonetheless, like when Tito and Shamrock fought the first time, that was in like kind of like the prime of my life, thinking I was like I thought I was real fucking tough back then. And so like UFC, I just loved it, man. Like I just absolutely loved it. And then it's one of those things where it just became like I have not missed a pay-per-view since that show. I subsequently learned that I'm not actually that tough, but it didn't matter as it relates to how much I love the sport. You know what I mean?
That's impressive, man. It's especially now with they're doing events every weekend. It does take up a lot of time and everything. Yeah. The other thing I found interesting, I knew this even before I was doing a bit of research on you. You were on a reality TV show. Tell me a bit about that. And did you not meet you met your wife there too? Did you not?
No. So I was on 2 reality shows. The first one, my wife and I got married on it, but it was not, we didn't meet there. It was like her and I are actually launching a show. It's ridiculous that we haven't launched yet because we have 10 episodes done now, but we just got done filming one right before we got on here. And we were talking about that episode, but no, we had been together for a little less than 2 years and we got cast on a show where they kind of, it was like, it's produced by the same people that did The Bachelor. And they were like, we want to set out to create a show that captures all the drama of the final episode of The Bachelor in one self-contained episode. And so the episode is like, hey, you guys have been together for a while. We're going to throw you a wedding in a week. You have to go through all of the process of planning it. And then you have to decide at the altar if you're going to go through with it. So Yeah. So that's how we got married. 15, we've been together 17 years and we've been married for 15 and have 3 kids.
Impressive.
And then, yeah, the other reality show when I was, so I've been an entrepreneur, done some tech company stuff, I've done some other company stuff. And when I had a company very similar to DraftKings early on, and I sold a reality documentary series, essentially a reality show about that company to Esquire Network. Same producer, one of the same producers, Undercover Boss, who was also on the original, the wedding show. That's how I knew him. And yeah, it was. I mean, it was going to go to series, and then Esquire Network went out of business. So that's how we lost the show. But yeah, it was it was going to accompany the journey of building startup.
So doing this must have been pretty easy because you're used to being in front of the camera, right? Like I'm sure, and it seemed like kind of from some of the stuff I was reading, like this is something you always wanted to do, was just kind of get your opinions out there and have them heard on the interwebs.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was very easy because having done the shows, and had people who like work with all of these reality stars, they said to both Gabrielle and I, they're like, you guys are fucking stars. Sorry, I don't know if we're swearing on
No,
here,
go ahead.
but,
Yeah, it's fine.
but they said it so many times. And then, just kind of like, it's the same way as, like with my daughter, who's a jiu-jitsu competitor. I always tell her, I'm like, you are going to be a world champion. You're the best, but I'm doing it intentionally to put that seed into her brain and just keep on, boom, because I know the power that can have. And so it's one of those things where like they kind of like gave me the confidence on camera to kind of be myself. And then, by the time we got done with the second show, I mean, I knew I was, charismatic on camera, but I had no idea how to build a YouTube channel. But basically what I'm doing now is my absolute best case scenario for what I would be doing with my life. Obviously I want to get, I'm going to expand and get bigger, but this is exactly what I want to be doing.
Love it. That's great. I mean, you don't hear that from people often. And on top of all this, you have other businesses and stuff. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about what it is you do for your day job, but what do you like? I believe it's fantasy sports related. Like what do you do?
So that was the company that I was doing with when we did the reality show.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And then I sold that in 2015. There's a whole saga related to that, but no, and then I was did another tech company. Then I worked in tech as I put together kind of like, I don't know if I was an enterprise account executive. So I would be the one who would like facilitate these big deals between my company and, other companies. I did a big deal with the last big deal I did before I started doing this big full-time was with Tesla, between the company and,
wow. Okay.
And then, but yeah, I have now been I quit the day job. I went back very briefly a few months ago, where I had been doing just content for a year, 14 months. And then a guy who I used to work for came and offered me a gig. And he's like, dude, I need someone in Texas. It's a lot of money. And I was like, all right. I was doing 2 things at once before, and I took it on. I only lasted 2 months. I knew within 2 weeks, I was like, this was a mistake. I can't do this again. Like now I'm fully invested in the content. And, but we have other stuff. Like I have other projects, but like my main day job was in, enterprise software sales. And that is hopefully in the past permanently now.
Yeah, for sure. When did you officially go full-time on your channel? Like when was this?
Well, you want to talk politics, we can talk, I actually got fired from so I did the deal with Tesla.
Yeah.
What's the right, a landmark deal at my company with Tesla. Then we had a quarterly business review, and they asked for my Vax card when we were in San Francisco. And I was like, oh, I don't have one. And, somehow they found a reason to terminate me without telling me why, but it definitely was not performance related 6 weeks later. So,
oh my God, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And the reason, the whole thing that's a whole other conversation about, Vax, like in my family. It's not just like, it's not like I was just like watching certain channel. Like we had like personal family experience related to that. But so I took that as a sign and didn't really look for another gig. And so then I was doing that for 14 months. And then when I got offered the new one, I took it. And honestly, it was like, if you believe, your life is kind of like a story that plays out, it was important that I took this job and then I personally resigned, because going full time on content because of the way that it happened before was not my choice.
Right.
It had to be my choice. Like I had to leave that money on the table, which
Yeah.
is exactly what I did 2 months ago when I resigned. Like I resigned from, a lot of dough, man. It was like, am I doing this or am I not doing this? And honestly, the moment where I knew for 100% sure that I was going to resign is, so I'm good buddies with Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins coach,
Okay.
because he married one of my best friend's sister. And like, I had this moment where I was thinking of like just looking at all that. Cause dude, I've been friends with this guy for like 12 years. So like, if you go and look at where Mike McDaniel was 12 years ago, he wasn't even in the fucking league. This is when he was washed out of the league. So I've watched his entire career and I know him really well. And I've never met a single person who is more singularly minded than that guy. Like he knew exactly what he wanted. He said from when he was, freshman or sophomore in college that he was going to be an NFL head coach and he was going to win X number of Super Bowls. And every single thing that he's done from then until now has been driving towards that goal. If I told you the hours this guy has always worked while it just defies all logic, dude, where like that a person could be that singularly focused. And I just had this epiphany. I'm like, okay, so Mike's going to get this enormous contract. He already got a big, like, is there any scenario where he would have taken this money to suck up 50 to 60% of his time if the goal that he's after is not that? He would have fucking never taken this job.
Yeah.
And so I quit.
Wow. Good for you, man. Again, it's hard to kind of take that leap, and you got kids. Like I think a lot, you look at a lot of the creators there, they don't have families. So, I can relate. I got 2 boys and it's a lot to kind of put all your eggs in one basket. But again, you were kind of talking about it there. It was very strategic as well, as far as like where you're at. Is your educational background, is it in business, I'm assuming, or where did you did you go to college?
Yeah. I majored in communications and media arts.
Oh, cool.
So I actually, I knew how to edit. I knew how to do, like, I had a lot of kind of, I don't know, video production experience that I never thought that I was going to use, honestly. Like when I got out of college, it never like, I never had any like plans to do anything in video at the time. I just went straight into business. And then we had the 2 shows. It was just like one of those things where you just kind of follow the breadcrumbs in your life. And especially in hindsight, when I think about like how these things sequentially happen, it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't like the word destiny, but it's like a thing where I followed a lot. There were a lot of things that kind of randomly fell into place to put me in the position that I'm in now, which I'm very grateful for.
First video I saw of yours, I was thinking about this today because I've seen your channel for years. It was the Paige Van Zandt video where you were like reviewing her. It wasn't OnlyFans back then. It was something else. I just thought this was hilarious. I was like, someone's doing the Lord's work here. Like if anyone wanted to like sign up for it. When did you know this was going to be something big and successful? Like, was there like a specific video where you're like, okay, this is catching on?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so if you, too, it's like what's a good metaphor for this? Okay, so all this stuff with Strickland and the Navy SEALs that's going on right now, because I am good buddies with a lot of Navy SEALs, and so I'm obviously very curious what kind of mindset can put a guy through Hell Week, because it's like, it's the ultimate form of human torture, and how much can a person absorb? And the answer is always the same with them, which is like, I've like floated, I think if I was thinking about blah, 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 then that would help me get through. And they're like, no, the only way through is there is no way where you don't get through. There's no like, oh, if this, if that, there's even like a sliver of doubt in your mind, you will not make it through. It's like, I think like 10% of people get through, but like becoming a creator that's successful in what we do, where it's like a person who's talking into a camera, that's really the only way that it'll happen for you, because you have to commit so much time just to be able to get the opportunity to where you might make it, because YouTube's algorithm will not start suggesting you to a wide audience if you have not done a certain amount of videos and have been doing it for a consistent amount of time that is X. I don't even tell anyone anymore what it really is, because I'm like, I earned that knowledge that I now know, and I used to give away too much game on the channel. So but like, so I would say I believed that it would work the whole time once I started, but I had already blown up on TikTok before I started YouTube.
Okay.
I just kind of looked at, I'm like, so how does anyone make money doing this? And it's like, oh, they don't, you know, I'm like, well, and I also separately had like a personal video with my kid go mega viral, where I tricked my daughter into not crying by fake crying. And it got literally like 100 million views on Facebook through a bunch of different media brands, neither here nor there. And so I started looking, I'm like, geez, how much would this have made on YouTube? And so I started figuring out how much money people made on YouTube. And I was like, oh my God, why does anybody waste time on any of these other platforms? And so then I focused all my energy on YouTube. And, but the moment that I knew that like I had hit traction was when I had been posting for about a year. I posted like every day for a year. And then that whole saga between Josh Fabia and Diego Sanchez happened.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And I started covering that, and that's when I really started changing the way that I thought about like my channel and posting and all of that. Was like, I was like, I think that there's a way for me to not be like any other channel. Like everybody's thinking in their head, like, are these two guys gay? Like, are these, you know what I mean? Like, are these two guys banging each other? Everybody's thinking it. No channel is saying it. And I'm like, I'll just fucking say it, you know, like, I'll just say it. First video I did like that got 100,000 views. And it was like, oh, all right, people like this. And at that point, I started treating my channel, you know, many videos like the one you talked about, the Paige Van Zandt, as if I was doing a video for my fraternity brothers where the goal is to make them laugh. Like, it's like, I'm just creating this to just make fun of people and have all my good buddies laugh at it. And that, ended up kind of being my vehicle to blow up. I did a ton of Fabia videos, and that's where I blew up, was on those.
What's your process like now? Because obviously you do watch a lot of content. You're very much like on the pulse of like what's happening. Like, do you spend like a couple hours going through content and then thinking like, okay, how can I sort of give my spin on this, or how do you go about it?
Dude, I wish that I don't watch that much content. That's the thing. I have this kid, Alex, who is so invaluable to me. I can't even tell you, dude. Like, he has such a good instinct for what a good story is. Okay. That I would cover, that I can make a good title and thumbnail for. And he'll just text me. He's like, what about this? And I'm like, boom. And like, sometimes I already know about it and I'm already like producing. And a lot of times I'm like, jackpot. So, I mean, I subscribe to a lot of the news channels on X. And then, so I'll see a good topic come up. And I mean, like, there are a handful of videos where I do, like some research, and then I know where I'm going with like screenshots. And then there are others where I literally just see like a story on X and I just go on and talk about it for 15 minutes. But yeah, I don't know. I think the better ones are basically just depend on my mood when I'm recording, more than whether I did a bunch of preparation or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think too, one of the things that I give you your wife credit for is like, she seems down with like, whenever you got to post something posted. I've seen you do multiple videos on vacation. You guys are at like an all-inclusive and you guys are doing stuff, and she'll come on camera and everything. How important has that been? Just having someone that's, not saying like, hey, can you get off the camera and, go be a dad? Like, it seems like she's really like more than supportive towards you.
She is the best thing ever. Yeah, I would be lost without that girl. But yeah, she has never once, ever broken my balls about anything related to work on the channel, ever. Like, and I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I'd be like, I got to go record this video. Cause I used to really be heavy on get the story out first. Yeah. And so something would break at like midnight and I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And she would just know, like, whatever we're doing, like, I'm out. I'm going to go record this and I'll be back. It was just, yeah, she's never broken my balls about it at all.
You're also friends with a number of fighters as well too. And I know like Bisping, Anthony Smith. How did you develop those friendships with those fighters?
So it's funny. Like, I never thought of myself as a good networker, but only because in the businesses that I was in previously, I didn't give a shit about about what I was doing. And so why would I, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if I know, the business development guy at this company over here is like, I don't care. But being in this business and then also the bit, like the fantasy sports business and all that, that's very different. It's if it's something that I care about, uh creating relationships has always been very, very easy for me. And when I started the channel and I was thinking about what success looked like if I really like drill down into it, what would success look like if I make it all the way? I wasn't thinking about money. I wasn't thinking about how much money it would be before I was like, oh man, I really made it. I saw success as mattering in the industry, where I say something and people see it, and being friends with certain guys, which basically I don't know Rogan. I've never met Rogan, but like essentially every other person that I was like, oh, I like that guy. Hopefully I can be buddies with that guy, are my friends now that I talk to all the time. It's like, I don't know if that's a matter of, I don't know, visualization and then just kind of doing it or
Manifesting
what,
Yeah.
but it's just played out that way. I mean, also, the other thing too is I'm not a journalist, where I would say a lot of, like if you're a fighter or an analyst or whatever, if there's someone who's a journalist, you have to at least in the back of your mind kind of be like, oh man, is this guy going to like run this story?
Yep, exactly.
I'm just doing this dicking around and trying to make people laugh. And obviously my personality in the combat sports community is very aligned. You know what I mean? It's like, I make fun of people and it's just like it's a big bunch of fucking frat guys. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is exactly what my own social group is like anyway. So it's not hard to find common ground and make each other laugh,
So it's all online though, I'm assuming. Like for example, Bisping, I know you've been on his show and he's been, you've done stuff with him. Like, how did that come about? Was it just like you talking to him online, or like how does that work out?
I don't remember how I first became buddies with Bisping. Like, I know, I did his show.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, he and I, like, we've seen each other at UFCs after. He and I text all the time, but I don't remember. And then Anthony, we've hung out. I mean, like me and Gabrielle have hung out with Anthony in person a bunch of times. And then Chael's a good buddy of mine now too. We hung out at Jake and Nate Diaz's show, but he and I talk fucking constantly. He's hilarious, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a really good dude.
He is exactly what you see all the time.
Yeah, it's like you think he's in character, but that's just how he is.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's got Gabrielle fucking loves Chael, dude.
Good. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had people come after you too. I know there was a little bit with Ian Garry. Who's the first person that, like, I don't know, maybe came after you and was like, take that down or anything? Have you had anything like that? Maybe not take down, but like people have been upset about, like, where they got
butt hurt that I said something.
Yeah, maybe like that. And we all get it, by the way. I mean, like, even I get it, especially with what I do. I'm kind of hovering that line between, the media side and the creator side. Yeah. But like, have you got anything like that from like a fighter or anything? Because you don't go too hard in the paint on certain fighters, I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty strategic about who I light up, but I'm trying to think if anyone has ever gotten.
You were part of that, like, Ian Garry's wife, Layla. She was like, "We're gonna sue these people." I don't remember. I think you might have been in that thumbnail, but I remember you did a video where you're like, "I didn't even do anything." Like, what's she talking about?
She used, like, when she did the thing on Instagram, she definitely referenced one of my thumbnails.
Yeah,
but well, I mean, honestly, my involvement in that situation was because I'm buddy, like you said, I mean, like, I'm not just friends like Bisping and any of these guys. I'm buddies with Guru, I'm buddies with Red Pill MMA, I'm buddies with all these guys, like MMA holes, all of them. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of creators have like an adversarial kind of base setting again, like with other people in their space. Mm-hmm. And I just look at it exactly opposite, where I'm like, dude, these is like the only people who understand what you're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like what reason would I have to be adversarial instead of friends with them? And so when that happened, I think I talked to Guru first because I've talked about this before, but like, Guru's an incredible creator, but he's super fucking young. So like, he doesn't, when it comes to like, hey, they're threatening a defamation lawsuit. I mean, like, believe me, I know a lot about that kind of shit. And so I talked to him. I'm like, dude, this is a completely empty threat. Like there's nothing there. Like, there's literally nothing there. You don't have to worry about it. And then with Red Pill, I think with Guru, it was just like a threat. With Red Pill, they actually they dinged his channel and said, like they actually filed like a harassment thing or so. I don't
Really?
know. It was
Okay. Harassment.
yeah.
Yeah.
He actually got like a formalized like letter about it from YouTube, and then so I kind of and he was like, he was concerned they were really going to sue him, and then so I talked him through that. I mean, I don't know. He's in Ireland, so I don't. I'm like, look, dude, I don't know the laws in Ireland.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like there's nothing here. You just pointed out that she wrote this book, and then you pointed out that that the ex-husband is is their cook. I will say though that I just did a video about this recently that I did the book. I talked about the book also, but then subsequently I found her old YouTube channel.
That's
and
right. Yeah.
I mean, dude, that book was a joke for sure.
Yeah.
Like for absolute sure. That WAG book was not real. Like it was like it was satire for sure. She's telling the truth about that. I felt I felt bad how much she got hammered for that. But I mean, it's like, it's the internet. Dude, the internet is a place where the worst instincts that people have, come out, where people just want like they just get collect. That's one thing that I have stayed true to from like my own kind of base setting is I do not bully people. Even if there's someone who I have an issue with, the second that it feels like I'm part of a mob that's bullying them, I will just completely cut myself out of the situation. I just like, I do not like that feeling at all of like,
the mob mentality,
like mob mentality on people. I've never liked it. I don't like it. And usually when people start, I don't know. I mean, if someone does something fucking egregious, then that's different, but a lot of times when you look at the details of what people are getting chased around for, you're like, this is shaky, man. Like this is shaky ground for this kind of reaction. But
well, kind of on that note, have you had like viewers come after you, like, for maybe some things you've said or anything like that, or like gone after your wife or anything? Have you had that type of level of obsession, I should say?
Yeah. I mean, I have this one guy who has a million fake accounts.
Oh yeah. I deal with that too.
Go on and comment the same things over and over. And I finally, because there were like certain videos, I was like, where the hell are these guys coming from? Yeah. Like, I didn't even figure it out that it was the same person. It's like, I mean, like not like but so there would just like be these videos where I would get bombarded with the same kind of, negative comments. And I'd be like, dude, is there like a Discord where somebody's like, let's get this motherfucker, like, I don't know where this is coming from until I kind of figured it out, where it was like, cause they never I would respond to them and then they would never respond again. And it's because they're clicking out of those profiles, so they're not getting notifications because they're like in a million. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's a recent one. There was another guy that was so crazy, man. Like he would follow me around to anything that I posted and then argue with me about politics. And I'm like, dude, and eventually I blocked him. And then he would start going on all these other posts if he saw me on him and be like, he blocked me because I said blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Jesus, man.
I know.
Like, we've never even, I don't even understand how does somebody get so worked up over a person they don't even know? You know what I mean?
It's a generation thing though. And I talk about this a lot on here actually, about like you get people that are, they don't have a lot to do. Like they're just, and so they have all this extra time to like dedicate. I always say it's like they make you into this enemy in their head that you're not really, like it's a fictional enemy in their head. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so it's like their vendetta to like, I have to go and for you and I, we get a dopamine hit from going to the gym or doing something else, right? For these guys, it's about trying to get a reaction. It's just a totally different mentality, I think.
That's the hard part for me is knowing that no matter what I respond, if I respond and I just drop a 10-6 fucking nuclear bomb on their head, they still won. You know, like they won because they got me to respond to them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like it's hard. Like I'm so good at advising other people on how to do things, especially with digital communication, where if someone sends this, I'm like, look, this is what they're after. Do this, do this, do this. And I've always said, just for the record, I'm telling you, this is the correct answer. But as soon as it's me, I'm at least 30% less effective even though I know not to act, emotionally, it's just like sometimes you just can't help it, and you know, make the wrong call. Like Bisping used to, like when Bisping used to go blow people up sometimes on social media. That was kind of like before I knew him.
Yeah.
And I remember just like I would read those, and I'm like, damn, that guy really pissed Bisping off.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, why is Bisping taking the time to respond to this fucking guy? You know what I mean? But
yeah, and understandable for sure. And then just sort of last thing on kind of the obsession of people. Do you ever worry about, like, I know you really like involve your family online, like you'll have like Instagram posts and stuff. Do you ever worry about that? Like I had to I basically made an Instagram account that's kind of private for my kids because I'm always worried about like people out there. People are weird. We just talked about how people can get a little bit worried. Does that ever cross your mind at all?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, but I don't know my kids I mean, we're with our kids most of the time,
Gotcha. Okay.
and like, that, yeah, I mean, if I don't know. I don't think people are like, there's a lot of crazy people on the internet that are, yap, yap, yap,
Mhm.
but people who are going to actually do anything in real life, like that's not a thing that really happens,
Yeah. Okay.
It's like one of those things. It's like being worried about getting bit by a shark when you're, swimming in the ocean. It's like, and that's probably more common than someone actually I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're a big enough star, I'm not. So I'm not super worried about it. But I mean, I do think about it. It would be, and I'm in Texas, dude.
Yeah.
So you can respond however you want in Texas. If
That's what I was going to say.
like
Yeah, it's a little bit different than where I live here.
Where are you?
I'm in Vancouver, Canada. So we, I mean, we do have crime here, but I'm in the burbs and it's pretty safe neighborhood. But again, it's just always something I'm always thinking of in the back of my head, just seeing some of the stuff online. Like, I always say this, like, I'm happy being at the popularity level I'm at because I can only imagine what someone like Ariel's getting or people that are of that stature, because as much as they're getting a lot of love, they're also getting people that, again, doing that enemy thing in their head where it's like, this is the worst guy ever, So
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
kind of keep
like even people that I've gone at on the channel, like I'm under no misconceptions that if we were like in the same, like we'd be friends. Of course we'd be friends.
Yeah.
There's essentially no person, with very, very few exceptions, that I've spent any meaningful amount of time with that I don't have a good relationship with. Like in real life, it's like I don't have like we don't have issues with people. The internet is just this place where you get to have this kind of like anonymous.
It's like an avatar, essentially.
I think it's cool though about our niche though, and it relates to like, any kind of, I don't know, any kind of bit of being a public figure is our niche is actually very small. So you go to a UFC event, it's like you walk into the stadium and it's like, oh, you're a celebrity for,
yeah, it's true.
five hours. And then you walk out and you're normal again. It's like the idea of being a global celebrity where everyone knows your name every single place you go sounds, I don't know. That sounds like a lot, it's because it's like super fun when you go to the events and somebody's like, hey man, I love your channel. Let's take a picture. You're like, of course, everyone I've ever met who likes my channel is awesome. I mean, there are like no exceptions to that. They're like all people I would be friends with in real life. But I think that's because combat sports, it attracts the same kinds of, like people are different, but most people who like combat sports would be friends with each other. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. I found that too, going to as many events as I've gone to. You referenced MMA Guru, who again has just been killing it, much like you on the YouTube side of things. What happened to your show? You guys had a show going for a little bit. Is it just schedules haven't lined up, or what happened?
No,
there?
we were going to do a show, and then he just is like, he's like, I don't know, man. He's like doing a show. He's like, I'm kind of like alone, whatever. He didn't want to do a show. So I was like, okay, all right, like. We did a stream together a few weeks later. It was no big deal. Like it's no big deal at all. Yeah. It was just like, he like is crushing it so hard on the live streams that it's like we just, I understand the YouTube algorithm very well. And I mean, certainly a lot better than I did, when I started. And one of the things that I've known is like, again, I was about to do the thing I do, where I give away too much. Bottom line is, there are certain things that I probably would do on YouTube that I don't, because I know it'll hurt me with the algorithm. And I was showing Garry, I was like, during a live event, she's like, I'm like, go online and see how many people Guru has watching. And he had 6,000 people watching
Yeah.
live. I was like, that is very impressive, dude.
He's getting, I mean, it just, and this is something I talked about. I think you saw the video where I was kind of talking about the whole Luke Thomas thing, where he was kind of downplaying like the creators that are in the space, because I think it's such a big part of the media industry now, and the part of the industry as a whole, because like that's how people are consuming content. But back in the day, it was, I'm just going to read Junkie, I'm just going to check out Ariel's show, that's it. Now you have all these other mediums, and there's so many channels now, dude. Like every now and then on like my recommended, I'm like, where did this channel come from? It's been around for like 2 years. Like everyone's doing a channel now, and I feel like that's, people are kind of realizing that like the YouTube side of things is how a lot of people is getting their news nowadays.
Yeah. And it's funny. So when that whole thing happened, it was like a lot of that was prompted by me, lighting Luke Thomas up in the video that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I just talked about this before. I went back and watched the video that I did, and I was like, Jesus, like, cause I just like, that was a video. I was legitimately just like, I had been choking on the same things over and over and over. And then Luke Thomas said like one or two of those same things I had been choking, and I just blew up on him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I went much harder than I realized now. Like looking back, I was like, Jesus, man, that was an aggressive video. But like, that's why whenever he said any of the shit about me afterwards, I just never responded. Like I was like, he's entitled to say that in response to the fucking onslaught that I put on him for, he just kind of ate it for the last like 58 people that I had seen say the same stupid shit. But yeah, like, but the thing that he said about, you failed when you see who thinks of you as competition or whatever that was, like something like that.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, I was like, you think that's a flex, dude? Like, that's not a flex. The fact that, because the way I hear that is institution, like a person who works for like these like larger companies versus completely independent, unaffiliated person who's built solely on talent and, consistency. It's like, and don't get me wrong, like Luke, I mean, he's obviously very talented. He has great takes, and he probably would have done very well building on his own. But it's like, if you think that like me, there's on YouTube any flex against me or Guru, it's like, you do not understand the game that you're in if that's what you think. Like, because the only reason we've blown up is because people have wanted to watch our shit, and they found us based on absolutely no credibility that was provided by an institution or the organization or access to anyone. It was just talent, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And again, like the medium's changing. And I think you got to get with the times as well too. Like I think that you look at some of these channels, like even the event coverage is changing now. Like I see certain like fighting and Mac Life, even they're not doing all the interviews now, like at Media Day. Cause I think they're looking at the algorithm. They're going, this is a waste of time. Like, unfortunately. So that's something I've definitely been paying attention to, being on sort of both sides of the coin. Something I should have asked off the top. I wanted to get this in for sure. How did you come up with the name Jesse on Fire? Who's behind that?
Dude. So one thing that I wanted to do is, so I always knew that like, I wanted to be a brand where I can, like talk about whatever I want. I wanted to be able to be a thought leader across a lot of different areas where people actually care what my opinion is. And so I definitely did not want to pigeonhole myself into any specific niche, whether it's UFC, MMA, or any other thing. And so I knew I was going to call myself something that did not have that in the name. And, it was just like, I don't even know where it was on fire, but it was like, the people are either earth, wind, air, or fire. And it's like, you do one of those, like I am 100% fire and nothing else. I mean, I think I have a fire tattoo. I do have a fire Chinese character somewhere, but it just worked. Like instantly it was like Jesse on Fire. I was like, oh yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That'll work.
What's the best advice you could give someone that's looking to do what you're doing?
That is an easy answer. It is, you have to decide what your success criteria looks like and detach it from anything that you can't control. So if your goal is to within a year have 4,000 subscribers, wrong. Shit goal.
Mhm.
That you can't control that necessarily. What you can control is I'm going to do at least 6 videos a week for an entire year. Also, you have to think long. Like you can't be, oh, let me see how I'm gonna give this 90 days and see how it goes. 90 days is going to be nothing, is what's gonna happen in 90 days. Like you have to be able to see a very long view. You have to, and then commit to the process. That does not mean you're going to be successful at all. But in order to have a chance at success, you have to commit to the process. You have to set goals that only you control, and then make sure that you don't ever slack on them. Like you can't, no, if you said you're going to do 6 videos a week, you do fucking 6 minimum. You don't do 3. And then what, you know what I mean? It's like, it's about marrying the process so that you don't get, because anyone's going to get discouraged by what they will see as a lack of success in the amount of time it takes to be successful. Unless you've married a multi-year process, you're going to get discouraged and you're going to quit. I mean, it just is what it is.
Absolutely. Okay, I got some rapid fire questions for you, and then we'll get out of here. Jesse on Fire, favorite athlete outside of combat sports?
Oh, favorite athlete outside of combat sports? Tiger Woods, probably.
Favorite movie?
Gangs of New York.
Favorite TV show?
First season of True Detective.
Favorite cheat meal?
Pizza.
Favorite comedian?
Pure comedy, Dave Chappelle.
Favorite travel destination?
All-inclusive resort at either Cancun or Cabo.
Favorite animal?
Oh, man. Favorite animal? The tiger.
What's your hidden talent that we don't know about?
Ask my wife.
Okay, I will. We'll get her on here next time. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, my biggest pet peeve. I have a lot of them. Fucking complainers. Actually, I know exactly what it is. People who are exceptional at identifying problems and verbalizing them without ever providing a proposed solution.
Excellent answer. Actually, we haven't had that one yet, so I would have to agree with that. Last question. What is your ultimate goal with what you're doing right now? Is it what you're doing right now, or is there another level? What's sort of you could pick, you went in the universe and you could say, hey, we're going to make this the perfect situation for you. What would that look like?
So Gabrielle and I are launching our show, and I expect that to do very well. But again, marry the process, launch it now, marry a 2-year plan, and I can't imagine us not doing really well. But basically, I just want to hit the like the next level of success in this game. Like you have people like me, Guru, whoever else, and you can only get so big. That's the whole point, is you can only get so big in pure MMA, which is the main reason why I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into there. So as I expand into like other topics and more mainstream stuff and do the thing with Gabrielle, like I want to hit that level of like Jordan Peterson is probably the pinnacle of what I'm talking about, but those types of people where everyone knows who they have an opinion one way or the other on the things that I say, which obviously people are either going to really dig my stuff or really dislike my stuff. But just to hit that like next threshold of like, I guess, notoriety, which is the exact same thing as success in this business.
Jesse, this was awesome. I can't believe we did. What were we at now? We're at 44 minutes. I was not expecting it. Just kind of flowed. So
I was going to say, when you said 30 minutes or less, I was like, that's
probably not. I just kind of give that as a ballpark there, but you're going to UFC 300. We definitely got to link up that week. So I'll definitely be in touch. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here, whether stuff you got coming up on your channel, the show you were just referencing there, anything else, man? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, well, look out for Gabrielle and I's show right now. Like, what's great, we're repurposing our. We launched the channel like 2 years ago, but then now is like it's a totally different deal. But like that channel is actually, don't even worry about it. Just look for it. I'm going to announce it on the channel, so that's going to be exciting. And obviously, Jesse on Fire YouTube, and And I will just encourage anyone who has any type of means and ability to get to Las Vegas for UFC 300. I'm so excited for that weekend. And I think anybody who's like a big UFC fan, even if you don't go to UFC 300, if you can get to Vegas and then be hovering around the MGM, it's going to be one of the best weekends ever. Are you staying at MGM?
I'm not. I'm actually, so I'll tell you what I do for events, and I'll share this, my industry secret here. So when I go do fight week, you're always eating terrible, right? And you feel like crap. And it's always like, because you're so busy doing content that week, you're usually like trying to figure out, I got to find somewhere to eat quickly because I got editing to do or whatever. So what I've done this the last 2 years. I get meal prep for the week. So I stay at a place that's got a kitchen. So I was going to stay at Signature, which is where I stayed for UFC 290. It was like crazy expensive. So I went to Polo
Signature.
Tower.
That's the one that's next to MGM without a casino, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I stayed there for 290. This time around, staying somewhere I stayed for UFC, the Gone and Jones card, I stayed at Polo Tower, the Hilton Polo Tower, which is like across from Aria, basically like on the strip side. And
it's another one that does not have a casino, right?
Doesn't have a casino, but it's got a kitchen.
Key, dude. The hotels that don't have casinos are so nice, man.
And they're easier. So what I do is I get meal prep deliver. I land, I get meal prep a little bit later. I'm still gonna have a nice dinner or two while I'm there, but this way I don't even have to worry about food. Like I can edit, heat up my meal, eat it, and then we're good to go. So I'm about a 10-minute walk from T-Mobile. It's perfect. So
that's awesome. Yeah, dude. So I don't know if they do this on purpose, but like Factor Meals was a sponsor on my channel, and so they sent me, like a free, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I've subscribed to their thing ever since. Like Factor Meals are, believe me, they're not like, that's a long time ago. They're not sponsoring this. They're for that exact reason. You throw it in the microwave for 2 minutes. It's the best 2-minute microwave meal you will ever have. And it's like meal prep, like healthy, healthy, insanely easy. And I totally understand. That makes perfect sense to me. So you're going out and you're like, you have scheduled interviews with fighters and all that stuff.
So how it works, I'll again pull back the curtain a little bit here for you guys. Basically, I'm going for Sportskeeda. The deal I have with Sportskeeda is I'm going to use you as an outlet. Everything that I'm going to be producing will have your branding. I'm paying for everything. It's going to all go on my channel. And then I just do like the media stuff, like the regular, like the media day, the weigh-ins, the presser, all that stuff. But I also like getting the one-on-ones, which they used to do on media day, but they got rid of it because of COVID. So now they do like the presser style. So it's like one fighter comes out for 10 minutes. Everyone asks the same question. I could ask a great question, but MMA Fighting can upload the same video that I'm uploading, and we're all playing this game of who hits the algorithm. So what I like to do during fight week, and I'm already planning on doing this, I'll go to Extreme Couture. I'll hang out there, find a few fighters, get a couple one-on-ones just to space out the content a bit, but I'll still do the regular, run-of-the-mill media stuff there. So that's my plan. So I get in Tuesday, Wednesday's media day, Thursday is the presser, Friday is the weigh-ins, and then Saturday is the fight. That's how I do it. So
yeah, I mean, I've never done that. I host groups of fans.
You told me about this. That's actually something I forgot to bring up. How long have you been doing that?
So I did it the first year that I did it. So the first one that we did was UFC 270. And then we did UFC 272, 274. I don't know. We did a bunch. Like we did a bunch that first year. I did maybe like 3 or 4 last year. It's just, I don't know. I had no idea what, like the very first one we did, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I was like, I'm just going to host this group and then whatever. And, that one was in Las Vegas for 270, and I've never done one in Las Vegas since. I don't think that Las Vegas is conducive to what you're trying to do, because the whole point is like you get to all hang out, and then essentially everybody who goes becomes like my friend afterwards. And and so now what we do, we've got it down to a science. Now we go to the hotel. We usually the night before we'll like have like a room party in like a suite. Everybody hangs out, so everybody gets to know each other, has a good time, and then the next day when everybody meets and goes to the show, we're like all already friends. And we do all kinds of fun stuff, dude. Like scooters. Like we've had some incredible weekends. But like UFC 300, it's just Gabrielle and I going. And that's why I was asking about doing the content, just because it's like work. It's like kind of like work. Like 300, we are going purely as just like
enjoy it.
UFC fans that broke the bank to get some really good tickets, bucket list style. So it's gonna be really fun. Very excited. I do like I schedule, because I don't really do a lot of interviews. I only do like very, very select, conversations. And that's just how I've done it. I don't know. But But I mean, you get to go to all the shows because you have a press pass, right?
Exactly. So I go to select shows like you. I got, like I said, I got two boys. So if I'm going for the week. I couldn't do it every month, but I'll go to like the bigger shows if I can, if they're close. Like for me, Vegas is a 2.5 hour flight. It's not far at all. So
Dude, okay, so when you have a press pass, where do you watch the actual fights from?
I'm in the back, but sometimes you get a cage side seat. Usually in Vegas, I'm in the back, but like Vancouver, for example, I was front row for UFC 289. But that's because there was less media.
Or were other people got those seats?
Other people got those seats too. And in Vegas, there's people who get the seats. It just depends. It's kind of like a pecking order. Like if you're Oscar from Mac Life or you're MMA fighting, like you can get a front row seat. But also they have people who have to get the post-fight interviews and they're in two separate rooms. So it's not like you can run back and forth in Vegas. It's kind of difficult to do it that way. Saying that though, I remember UFC 290, they had us up. I actually got to watch Volkan Yair and Moreno and Pantoja up in the press like skybox there because they told us that there was no other fighters coming back. So I was worried, because I'm about content. I got to make sure that I get all my stuff. But like they told us like no one's coming back. You can go watch the fights if you want. So I was able to do that. So
what's the rule if you sit up front? Are there any rules about you guys like recording the fights and then uploading?
You can't record the fight. You can't record the fight itself. If you do that, they get pissed. But you can record like them leaving the cage or going into the cage, which I've done. And I actually had a clip with Oliveira when he beat Dariush in Vancouver last year that did a couple million views on a short. So
that's awesome. Yeah, because I was front row for Izzy and Pereira in Miami, but just because we were there with McDaniel.
Yeah.
And like that being that close is so bananas, dude. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's insane. I mean, like that's a whole different experience. It's amazing.
I'll tell you a quick story, and then we'll get out of here. The first UFC card I ever covered as a member of the media was John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson, and I was front row.
Their first fight? Their
first fight in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. I got press credentials through TSN, who I was working for at the time, as my day job. And they're like, hey, we don't, and this was back when they didn't have the UFC rights or anything. And I was like, am I able to get a press pass? They're like, yep. And so because it was in Toronto and TSN's based out of Toronto, TSN's like the ESPN in Canada, they're just like, oh yeah, this is like prestigious. So we're going to put you front row. So I got to watch that fight front row beside Kevin Iole and Garrett Davies. My first event as a member of the media. So
verify this for me, or I guess either agree or disagree.
Yeah.
I think that no matter where your seat is in the entire place, including cage side, your opinion on who won or lost is not as good as literally anyone who watched it on television. Like
100%.
even if you're right there.
Yeah.
Cause like there have been so many fights where I was watching it there and I was like, even that, like the one where I was cage side and I feel like I had this, okay, this is what's going on in the fight. And then when I would talk to people out, they're all, what? They're like, dude, that was not at all what was going on or whatever. It's like, so I've just acknowledged anytime I say like, dude, I was there. I'm not saying it like as a big league. I'm saying like my opinion is dog shit compared to yours if you were watching it on TV because you saw everything and I definitely did not. The only thing that really like that I would say is something that like if you're really close that doesn't kind of necessarily make it to the television was sometimes like so at the Miami show when Kelvin Gastelum fought against Chris Curtis, the body shots that those guys were landing, especially like Chris Curtis was landing, sounded like bazookas going off. Like it was like, I don't understand how he was eating those shots, dude. Like it was like, and we're done. I mean, I watched all of the fights, but that particular fight was just, everyone like sometimes things like that don't translate quite as well to television, but that's like the only thing. Everything else, it's better on TV.
Completely agree.
You end up watching the screen.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that, especially if you're cage side, you're looking up all the time. I always tell people you're really there for the atmosphere more than anything.
100%.
If there's other sports you can watch that are better, but television at home, honestly, is sometimes the best seat in the house.
Yeah. So. Our opinion is that the best seats in the house are the front row of the lower section, not on the floor, but the front. That's where we're sitting for 300. That's where we've sat for a bunch of it because you're just elevated enough
that you can see everything.
That your head's maybe like
you're just slightly above the cage,
4 feet higher than it would be if you were sitting on the floor, which makes a huge difference. And then, and if you want to get on the floor, you can usually get down there. But I think that's the spot. And they're so much cheaper than the floor seats. Like I think, they're the second back half of the floor seats for 300 I think we would have spent, like, if we got those, which we didn't really consider, would have been an extra, I don't know, $1,300 a ticket or something like that.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Ridiculous.
So there you have it. That is my chat with Jesse on Fire. Make sure you go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already, and you can check him out on Instagram as well, at Real Jesse on Fire. And if you like this show, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to do this show every week, and if there's other people in the industry that you'd like on this show, let me know in the comments. And lastly, you can catch up on past episodes in this graphic here. Really appreciate the support. Thanks so much for watching.